What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be video number 2 in the master Python projects rollout. Again, we only learn by doing, so let's get right into it. Today we're going to be building a map, and on that map we're going to be finding volcanoes and labeling them and changing latitude, longitude. We're going to have Python generating HTML files that we can then open in our browser to see what the heck it is we're actually doing. So let's jump right in. So here I want to quickly show. You'll see I didn't run the program yet. I have the file on the right. I have the debugger. I've started the debugger, but I want you to look on the left here. Within the file the folder I have, Master Python Projects, I have Web Map as one of the folders. And in that folder, this idea is just what PyCharm creates. I have Volcano Txt. I'll upload that when we get to that in a different one of the coding files. But I have web map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because that's how many files we're going to go through. But just notice there's no HTML files in there because I want you to see that Python via PyCharm is actually going to generate the HTML that we tell it to. So I'm just going to move that over for a second. So I already started to F8 through this. All I did so far was I imported Folium. So of course you can go on Google, you can search Folium for Python, and it's a way to generate maps. And Folium has a bunch of its own methods, functions, attributes that you can utilize things in. So all I did here is I imported Folium. I printed the directory of Folium so that I could see it on the screen. So that's what I have over here. So this is the print of the directory of Folium. These little white arrows you may notice I have the thing on soft wrap so that it's not a one continuous line going horizontally, but it's actually breaking it all up. So what I have on screen is what it will show. So if I bring this in, you'll see that it will adjudicate itself. So all of these, circle marker, polyline, map, pop-up, capital map, capital marker, marker cluster, built-ins, loader, spec, name, version, features, Folium, even the word map are all at this point reserved for Folium. So we're going to use them accordingly. So first off, we're going to create a map object. So it's pretty much we have our variable map and we're going to say what the hell we want to plug into that map. So I'm going to F8 through that. So now you can see in memory, we have a variable map, and memory even knows that it's tied to Folium, and it's Folium.map. So, and you can see we'll get to that in a second. And this is the object memory location. So that capital map, I have a lowercase map. So my variable is lowercase map. But inside that variable, what I wanted to put in it is Folium.capital M map. And that's, so I'm pulling that method from this library. And it wants certain parameters inside that map method, and it wants location. So location equals, and I have latitude and I have longitude. So if you want, for fun, you can go into Google, you can look for a latitude longitude finder. This is what location services utilize on your cell phones and GPS. And you can put in your address and it will give you a latitude longitude. You can put in any location, a landmark, and it will give you latitude longitude. So I have those numbers here appropriately. It goes latitude and then longitude. And then I have zoom start equals 7. The zoom start is how much of the map are we going to see when we zoom in. Higher number zooms in more, lower number zooms in less. Or essentially it's kind of like zooming out. And then I just have that I'm going to print the map. Now when I go through print map, you'll see that this Folium.map, part of its code is that it's going to generate an HTML file. And in that HTML file, it's going to have the parameters I passed through it, which were the latitude and the longitude, with the appropriate zoom that I wanted to use. And I just have here to look into the map method directory to see all the methods that you can apply to the map. There's a lot of methods you can apply to the map. You can do that on your own time. So let's F8 through this. So I just F8'd through that print map. And what I want to show you, so all we have down here on the debugger is the object when it printed out the object. But if I look over here, when I start to go through, whoops, get out of here. So down, I printed the directory for Folium.map. So of course you can go, that's all of this. And then here on the next line that I'm going to debug, I'm going to run through it. I wanted you to see it. So it says it passes a none. And it says we have print map.save, and then we're doing test.html. So what we're going to be doing is it's going to be creating the actual file called test, and it's creating an HTML file. We named it test, and it's using this variable here, map, and we're just saving it. Nothing special there. So we'll go through the rest. And what I wanted you to see is on the side here we have none, and then we printed out a map object with a different location than before, and again another none. The nuns in the debugger are actually the files that were generated. So over here on the left you will now see test and test2, which did not exist before. But the first one, test, is right here, and then the second one, test.2, is down here. I'll get to that in a second. So what I want to do is first, let's go, now this, it's going to generate your test in whatever directory you're running your PyCharm or your Python file in. There is going to be a default directory where it's going to drop these, and it's going to drop them in the folder that you're currently active in. So I'm going to open this test file that you can now see. So you can see this is all the HTML of what I just created, and I'm going to right click on test HTML, and I'm going to hit open in browser, and I'm going to choose Chrome. And so what it's doing now, it's opening that HTML actually in Chrome. So what I'm going to have, if you drew an X on here, dead center would be the latitude, longitude that I input. And again, this was a zoom of, let me just bring this down, was it 7? I think it was 7. Let me close baby. We're done with baby. It was 7, right? Yeah, zoom of 7. So what happens if we increase that zoom or decrease that zoom? Oh, and just as a side note, you can do it with the wheel of your mouse if you wanted to. And I'll show you how you can even change these kind of map layouts and so forth. But I'm even going to close that. Here I changed the zoom to 15, and I added tiles. So tiles equals statement terrain, and it recreates the HTML file because now I've added something. What the hell are tiles? Tiles is like putting on different filters, looking at maps in different from a different a vantage point. Not zooming, but you know how on Google Maps you can see the street view, or you can see the live view, or you can see the map. It's changing the tile. It's changing the kind of the filter of how it's going to present itself. And we're using the statement terrain. That's what we're calling from it. So I created a new variable, map2 equals folium.capitalMap location. I gave it the same latitude and longitude. Zoom start is now 15. Originally we were 7, now we're 15. So higher number, we're zooming in more. So we should see less of the US and more of a local region. And then the tiles, I have statement terrain as I put in through a string. Print map number 2, and that was what I have down here. It just gave me the actual location in memory. And then print map2.save, and then I'm giving it the name I wanted to save it in, which is test.2 or test2.html. So when I ran this code, there it is. It showed me the test2. So I'm going to open it, and I'll right click on this and hit open in browser. We'll open in Chrome. So same latitude and longitude, but now with a zoom of 15 as opposed to 7. So pretty much doubling the zoom. 2.1. So you still don't know what the heck you're really looking at. I haven't put a marker in. The longitude, latitude I put in is dead center. So next thing we're going to want to start to do is add markers so we know exactly what it is we're looking at. But I can zoom out just like I can zoom in if I want to on a map. So let's close this out. So that was HTML 1 and 2. So all we did in this file was we imported Folium. We generated 2 different maps utilizing the same latitude, longitude with different zoom functions, and we added the statement terrain tile on our map. So I'm going to close that. I'll open up number 2, and I'm actually going to run number 2, and it should generate. There we go. Look at that. We already generated a new file, test3, based off of the second file that we're utilizing. I have that. Let me put this in, run, and, and debug. So let me go through this. I don't know if we're going to have to use the debugger per se on this one. So let's see. I'm actually going to get rid of it just for now so we have a little more space. Let's see what we got. So first off, we imported Folium. And then I created a new variable, map number 3, and I equals folium.map. Now immediately know we got to put a location, and that location is going to be our latitude, longitude. I'm using the same that I used before. Zoom start is 15. That seemed like a pretty good zoom. Tiles will stay with this statement terrain. Now we want to start to add some markers to the map. So what I'm going to do going down on line number 6, we have folium.marker, capital M marker. If you recall, when we did the directory of Folium, when we printed out the directory of Folium, capital M marker was one of the attributes that we could utilize on the Folium maps. So folium.marker, I'm giving the location of the marker. So my latitude, longitude is the same for the map centering, and it's going to be the same for this first marker. And then I'm telling it I want it to be a pop-up. And the pop-up, if I click on the icon that I'm going to have in a moment, if I click on the icon, the pop-up pop up, I want it to say something. And in this case, I wanted to say, I am so lost. So I put that string in. The icon is a Folium dot, capital I, icon. It's another attribute from the maps that we can utilize with Folium. And we have icon equals cloud. So cloud is one of the icon types that we can utilize in the Folium library. And then we have dot add underscore to map 3. That dot add underscore 2 is also part of Folium. And then map 3, I'm just saying this whole piece of code I put, this whole marker code, saying I want you to create this icon that you know as your coding node known as a cloud. With that cloud, if somebody clicks it, I want the pop-up to say I am lost. And I want that location of that cloud to be at this latitude, this longitude. And then I want you to add that whole piece and apply it to map number 3. And then going down here, we have the same thing, Folium.marker, but you notice my latitude and longitude are slightly different, close, but different, which means we're going to have a different location. This pop-up, if I click on the icon, it's going to say, but I can see you. And the icon is also Folium.icon, and this one, the color equals green. So I didn't specify any particular icon in terms of cloud, so therefore it's going to default to cloud because I've already called it before. But the color will be green, and the same thing, add to map 3. So now we have 2 different pieces of code that we're adding to map 3 that we generated before. And then, of course, lastly, we're going to print map3.save into our test3.html file, which I already ran the code. So as you can see here, it says none, because when I'm printing something, the print that's what that none comes from. It's a print function that it has nothing to generate in terms of a visual on the console, but it did generate something. It generated the .save file, which was the HTML file. So I'm going to double click on 3, test 3. So I have all of my HTML code that we just generated with Python using Folium. So I'm going to right click and open in browser. We'll do it in Chrome. And we have our map that is centered, latitude, longitude, based on what we put in. Here is the first cloud marker. I'm going to click on it. It says, I am so lost. That's our pop-up. And then you can see over here on the left, I have a green cloud that we specified. And if I click on that, it says, but I can see you. So now we've added 2 markers that have different pop-ups. And the markers, one marker has the same lat long as the actual map centering. The other one has a different one. And the amount of markers that you can put on, there is no limit. So that's done with the second file. Let's open up our third file. And I'm going to run it, and let's see if you can already see we're going to generate more HTML files. So going to the top, I just noticed the one before was test 3, right? So I'm going to make this test 4, and I'm going to run it and watch. It'll generate a test 4. It would have just overwritten my test 3 before, so now I have test 4 there. So now we're going to use this Volcano Txt file, the text file that has, we can look at it. Let me open it. So this is the Volcano Txt file. So I can see in terms of my columns, my features, we have the volcanoes, the number, the name, the location, the status, the elevation, the type, the time frame, the latitude, the longitude. And there it's all comma separated, and you can work on it backwards. So we have longitude, latitude, and then this would be the time frame, and then we'd have the type, and then we'd have the elevation. That's going to be in feet. And then we have the status. It's historical. Location is United States and Washington State. The name is called Baker. Number, and so it's you can work all this backwards. But that's the point of the Volcano Txt. We're going to use that data to generate markers on our map. So where are we? See this plus symbol here where it says import ... and then there's a plus symbol. If I hit it, I have 2 different things in there. I have import Folium and I have import pandas as PD. And we're using pandas here, just like from the definitive guide to pandas. We're using pandas as our way to read that CSV file, or in this case as a TXT, but we're going to use the .read CSV method application of pandas to read the TXT file so that we can load it into Python to manipulate it via Folium. Whew. So running through this, the original map object can stay put. So for map number 4, we have Folium.map location, same. Latitude, longitude, zoom start is 15. We like that. It was pretty good. Tiles can be same in terrain. There's nothing different there. Now we need to read the CSV file into Python and store it into a variable. So we're creating the variable df, and that's going to be pd.readcsv, and the name of the file is volcano.txt. So nothing new there. Now we want to create a for loop that will go through this file data and create a marker for each individual volcano. So we have 2 iterators for this loop. And so we're going to put them in a zip function. We're going to read as iterator, and then where is the df to grab that iterator's value. So let's go through that. So what we're saying here is for, these are our 2 iterators, or 3 rather, for latitude, longitude, and name, and these are, we created these, this lat long name, in zip. So we're going to put them in zip function. Now this is telling, and it goes one for one. So data frame, which is up here. So df equals the file that we just read. That's our variable. That variable df is now has read that txt file. So think of df as holding all of this data. I mean, no, don't think of it. It is. df is holding that data. So we're telling it df capital LAT. So if I look at volcano, is there a capital LAT? There is. Look, lat long, both capitals. So I'm saying for this lat, so for this first one, it's actually going to pull that value on this iteration. So for df of lat, this I wanted to associate with this iterator. And then the second place is going to go with the second, third is going to go with the third. And then so from data frame, lawn should go wherever I'm calling lawn, and name should go wherever I'm calling name. And then we do a semicolon, then I have folium.marker, location equals, now remember when I did the map up here, folium.map, we did location. For the marker, we did location of lat long. We're still doing lat long, but we're just not putting in the individual numbers because we're reading those, we're iterating those over the txt file. So we have lat long, and that's pulling from the data frame lat and the data frame long. Then the pop-up, we're putting the name. So when you click on it, you will see from the data frame the name of that volcano. And then the icon is folium.icon. Icon's going to be the cloud. And we want to add this to map 4. And of course, map 4 is what we created up here, the map we created. So we created the map that we're naming map 4. That map is going to be centered on our lat longitude that we put in, which is the same that I've used before. And I did that for a reason. Then we read the txt file into Python using pandas, the panda data frame. And then we created a for loop that we're saying we want you to go through all of that data in the txt file, and where you see a latitude, I want you to pull it out into this iterator called lat. When you see a longitude, pull it out into this long, and for that name, for that volcano, pull it out where I have name. And then I'm just telling it exactly, I want it to create a marker for those parameters, and each marker is going to have this particular attribute and property, and then add all of that to the map. And then of course I wanted to map number 4.save test4 files. So this is our HTML file that we generated. And again, I will right click and we'll open a browser and we'll go in Chrome. And of course, you're going to sit here and say, WTF, it doesn't work. But remember, I put in our lat longitude that we've been using this whole time. And that doesn't mean that there's a volcano. If you look, if I zoom out, you're not going to know where we are yet. Maybe now because you saw the Bronx, New York City. So this is on the East Coast here. There are no volcanoes in New York City. So nor are there any volcanoes here based on our txt file. I'll specify it based on our txt file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start zooming out. I'm going to keep zooming out and go like, oh my God, my code didn't work. But look, all those volcanoes are over here now on the West Coast and getting closer to central USA. I mean, maybe that will change where you want to live. I don't know. But based on this, I can see here now, it worked. I created markers. If I click on the marker, I get Jackie's butt. I get Shoshone lava field, Whoppy lava field. Down here we got Uni Carrot field, so Sunset Crater. So each of these markers is representing the latitude, longitude, and then the name from the data frame file assigned to a marker. So, all right, so one step closer. We're getting there. Let's close this. I don't need number 4 anymore, and we're done with web map file 3. And I'll close the volcano for now because I don't need that. So now we're going to do file number 4, and I'm going to run it. Run. And this is test 4. I'm going to keep it just because I don't want to overwrite that other one. I'm going to make it 5. And I will hit go. So now I have here we can integrate some if statements to make the cloud color change based on elevation, right? So then you can associate different colors with different elevations. So again, the import, I have the plus feature. I imported Folium. I imported pandas as PD because we have to be able to read the file. So map number 4 equals folium.map location, again, latitude, longitude, same as here, so it's going to show up New York City again, so we got to kind of trick it and zoom out. I could have changed that lat long, but hey, why the hell do that? I want to use my zoom function. Zoom start is 15 tiles of statement terrain, nothing different there. df is going to equal pd.read csv, and then the volcano's txt file. So first we need to ass elv to our low for iterator. So I wanted to put add elevation. We're not going to ass elevation. Don't ever try to ass elevation. It never turns out well. To our for loop, not low, so loop as an iterator. So remember before we had lat, long, and name, right? So then we had data frame lat, data frame long, and the lat long is written as how txt files has it, and now data frame name. And now we're going to add data frame elevation, which is called elev. And if I don't know that, I go to my Volcano Txt, and I can see elevation is capital E, capital L, capital E, capital V. So nothing new there. Lat long name elv in zip, data frame lat, data frame long, data frame name, data frame elevation. And then if we want to make, then I have here, it says we want to say if elevation is at X, make the elevation marker color Y. The problem is our expression color is inside a method, so we can use an inline statement. What does that mean? So here we have in our for loop, try to kind of ignore this for a moment. Let me like highlight over it. So it's for, and then this would be right under it, folium.marker. And then we're saying our location, use the lat long from the txt file. The pop-up is going to be the name from the txt file that's pulling from df name. Icon, folium icon color equals green. If elevation in range, so we're going to go, this is inline, meaning we're not creating another loop. Color green if elevation in range from 0 to 1,000. So that's going to go from 0 feet to 999 feet because that's what it's written in. Will be green. Else you can make the color orange if the elevation is in range 1001 to, we technically could even make it 1000. 1001 to 1999. Else blue if elevation in range 2000 to 299. Else red for anything else. So we're going to be going from, was it green? Green, orange to blue. And then if anything is over 3,000 feet, it'll just be red. That's pretty much what we're doing here. We broke it down into a couple of ranges based on elevation. The icon is going to be the cloud, and then of course add.to map4, and then we have to print the map4.save, and this one we did as a test5 HTML file. So I will open that test5, right click on it, and open in browser in Chrome. And don't forget, we're going to have to zoom out because I used that same longitude, latitude, longitude. Say that stuff too fast. So now you can see we have our map of the US, and of course we have our elevations that are different. So we went green, orange, blue, and then red. So the red ones I already know because of what the code we just did, that they're over 3,000 feet. So I could sit here and say, now I know which are 3,000 feet, which ones are the lowest, which is the middle, which is going to be higher. So we've already started to now segment our data color coding wise based on elevation. So that will be it for web map number 4. Let us go to the second to last file, number 5, and let's hit our run it. And what is this one as test 5? So I'm going to make it 6 because I like to screw people up. So, and I ran it, so I should have a test 6. Where are you? There we go, test 6. Awesome. So now what I did, same thing. We have the import folium, import pandas as PD. We're going to organize the code a little bit more cleanly. Cleanly, if it's not a word, I just made it a word. But one of the biggest obstacles with code, other than learning how to read and write code, the mere fact that it's called code, it's telling you that it's secretive, it's elusive, it's difficult. It is difficult. That's why when you see those things of learn this language in an hour or a day, it's complete bullshit. Pardon my language, but it's ridiculous. This stuff takes a long time. With that being said, so we want to make our code as readable and user-friendly as possible so that someone just learning can read it more fluently, so that if I come back to this a year from now, it'll make more sense to me and so forth. So we have map4 equals folium.map, location, latitude, longitude, zoom start, 15 tiles, statement terrain, nothing different. Data frame is going to be the same pd.read csv, volcano's txt. Now we're creating a definition. We're defining color. And the color, what we're putting into color is going to be the argument of elevation. So there's going to be one argument for color. So we're saying if the elevation from that file is in range 0 to 1,000, well, actually, I should reference that. We didn't call the file yet. So I'm just saying in this definition, if the elevation is 0 to 1,000, the color should be green. If it's from 1,001 to 99, it should be blue. Then with 2,000 to 3,000, essentially orange. And then else it will be red. And then it's going to return COL, which is the color assignment based on the if loop on the elevation. Because again, it's going to take the elevation, and once it hits a true, then it will go to the next code, which is going to be the color assignment. So if we had any volcanoes at elevations that fell below 0 feet, because that'd be a cave, then or crater rather, then we wouldn't even see it on this map because we didn't address elevations that were under 0. So we have 4 latitude, longitude, name, elevation in zip, data frame, lat, long, name, elevation. So we've called our data frame now. The folium marker, location, lat, long, pop-up, name, icon, folium icon, color, elf, icon is cloud, add to the map. That's fine. So, and the same thing, print, map, save, test 6 HTML. So we didn't do anything different here. All we did was clean up the code in running through this. And what I wanted to show you is this. That's what I wanted to show you. That's the, other than this new part of code that we wrote, the defining of the color, this one little thing here is what makes all that possible. So here I'm saying for the color assignment, color equals color, open parentheses, ELEV, close parentheses. So it's going to look for a color function that's using elev as its argument. So what it's going to do when it's looking to assign color, that's how we tie it to our definition that we have here. That's how we tie it to our function that we defined, rather. This little part of the code here. So now I'm going to open txt6, right click it, and let's open in Chrome. And just to be fun, again, we're not going to see it. So we should have the same exact map, which we do. Come on. Which we do with the color coordination and the names. The difference again was that we defined a function to assign the color based on elevation. And then in our folium.marker line of the code, which was, where do we go? Here we are. In our folium.marker code, then we just have the color equals the function that we defined. That's all we did with that one. So we can actually close this out and then go to our last file for this example. This is going to be file number 6. I will, before I even run it, let me go down because I know, yeah, I got to change it. I'm going to go to 7 and I will run it. I'm going to swing up top. So if we want to have the map centered around our data, we can average our data of latitude and longitude. So something you could have done if you wanted to cheat. So if you remember when I opened the HTML files, it went to New York and then I had to zoom out and then go find the West Coast and then zoom in. I could have picked Nevada. I could have picked, Las Vegas, Nevada, taken the latitude, longitude of that and then plugged it in. Then my map would have been more centered. But what if I just want to make my map centered around my data? So I'm using the TXT file and I'm going to tell the program from that data file, that's how I want you to get the data to learn how to center for the map that we're creating. So let's do that again. Same importing Folium. We're importing pandas as PD. Data frame is going to be the pd.read CSV, then the name of the file. And now here we're saying taking the average. So we're doing the mean, the average of the latitude, the average of the longitude. Those are the variables we created, lat mean and long mean. Data frame it wants the latitude from the data frame lat, and we want the longitude from the data frame long, and then we're just applying the mean function, or rather the mean method to that data frame, those columns in the data frame, respectively. Map 4 equals folium.map, location equals lat mean, lone mean. So remember before, for folium.map, when we were creating the map object, we were inputting the longitude, the latitude and the longitude. Now we're saying get the latitude and longitude from the data file, the mean of all of them, take the average and make that the center point of the map that we're creating. Zoom start's going to be 6. I zoomed out a little bit, so before we were zoom 15, now we're going to be zoom 6 because we want a little bit more of a bird's eye view, and same statement terrain. We have our same function that we defined on the previous screen, just making the code cleaner, easier to read, also easier to manipulate if we need to or change. And then same loop that we have here for lat long name elv in zip, data frame lat, data frame long, data frame name, data frame elv. Full name marker, location, lat long, pop-up name, icon, full name, icon, color is the color elevation, because again, remember we're doing the color assignment based on our function that we defined just above. And then icon color is yellow, and icon is cloud. That is referring to, you'll see in just a moment, and then add to map number 4. So I have print map number 4, so I'm actually going to run it, and we'll generate test number 7. There it is. Right click, open in browser. Let's go to Chrome. Now you notice the cloud is now yellow. That's all that I wanted when I was making that note to you. That was this. Icon color yellow, and then the icon is a cloud. Could have made that anything you wanted to, but here it's yellow. I don't care. Let's say you wanted to say you really hate yellow. I mean, some people do. That's fine. So we'll put, you know, purple for those people. It's a complementary color, right? And I'll rerun it. So I'll get my test 7, and then I'll open you in the browser, Mr. Test 7. And of course, it's now going to be purple. But the takeaway of this is that look at where our map opened. Our map opened, we didn't open on the East Coast and then have to zoom out and come over. We opened where every volcano is seen, and the dead center of our map is the average of the latitude longitude that was dictated from our Volcano.txt file. And we did that by creating a variable lat mean, a variable long mean, and then we just said from the data frame, take the LAT, capital LAT, because that portion, and apply the mean function to it. And then the same thing for the longitude. And then that's how the map object, when it was being generated, knew how to center itself. That's how it got its lat long. So that is going to be all it for right now on the web map. There is a little bit more we're going to do with the web map, but I'm going to save that for a second project. Second project of the map, or rather the third master Python projects, because I don't want these to get too long and too crazy for you guys. So I hope all is well. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.